Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Tausif Rahman, 20PLB83 GM3309. It is my enrollment number, and today I'm going to talk about thematic cartography unit 2. And the previous video I have already talked about the unit 1, and now this video is going to explain how the diagrammatic data representation work and how many types of graph which is deal with to make data. So basically I'm going to talk about unit 2. So the first in the mind we came, what is a graph? Graph is showing on a paper something which is related to diagram. So in the first, what is the line graph? So line graphs are used to primarily to show how the quantity changes. The most common use involve a quantity that changes over the time. For the example, the class average grade of the class test and the semester exam. So and also the second example is monthly income over the time to time changes. We can make on the graph, so it is easy to read. And so advantage, what is the advantage of the line graph? So line graph it is easy to draw, and it is easy to read and explain it, and also it's easy to understand. And the disadvantage of this line graph, which means comparison with the other element is not possible. Precise in the drawing is essential. The wide range of data challenging to represent in the line graph, which means that we can say it's somehow it's a good. And if we need to draw a wide range of data, it is not possible in a line graph, so it is hard to draw. And they are the here is some example of the line graph. And the second one is the polygraph, which means that line graph in which two and more than two variables are shown on the same diagram by the different lines. It helps to comparing the data. And for the example, it is showing that the growth rate of different crops like rice, wheat, pulses in the one diagram, and the birth rate, death rate, and the life expectations from the in the other one diagram. And the sex ratio is a different state of the country in one diagram, spatial or temporal variable of one variables. And the advantage of the graph, it helps to us in comparative analysis on the place. And and the second one is that advantage, it helps to provides subsurface information and at each data point. And it easy to compare geographical tools for the researches. And the last one is the disadvantage of the polygraph. Disadvantage is that number of curves and up and down, it is very difficult, and it is clumsy to read. And it is the another person who is going to read this, it's a face of problem. And sometimes several graphs will cut them and merge it to another one, and the rise and confusions of reading many arise at certain data. And that this is the polygraph, and it is a two example of this polygraph. And the third one is that. And the third one is that combine line and bar graph. It means in this diagram two different data series visualizing through the line and bar graph, and here is a advantage and disadvantage of this graph. So advantage is that it is helps to comparison of two different data unit in a single diagram, and also disadvantage is that data unit is a long with two y-axis may increase potential error. And here is a it is a diagrams view and how it's look like. And the fourth one is. And the fourth one is that climography, which means is also known as a climograph. Climograph is also known as a climogram, and it is a type of graph which in which a graph that indicates which average temperature and precipitations for the area. And this graph can be graphs can be answered the following questions: the how much rain is there in a particular locations, and also when it is dry, and is it wet when it's cool, and when what vegetations can grow there. It's type of the questions showing in the climograph. And the advantage of the climograph, which means that it show the variation in the climate phenomenon of a place, and then the characteristics of climate of a place in a sketched out based on the specific statistical criteria. And this graph can help us to understand to changing the pattern of weather of a place. And this advantage of climography is that these graphs show only the four type of climate, and in actual they are the other also types also. The plotting area and the closed-ended dual diagram sided diagram may be increase the probability of error. So here is an example of the climography and advantage disadvantage of the climography, and there is a your diagram. And the last one is that so now I am going to talk about the ether graph, which means it is derived from the two Greek word, which means hydro, and hydro which means water, and graph which means a draw on a graph. It's type of a graph which is show the information about the water means rainfall, and heat means temperature, and it is a graph show mainly monthly temperature and rainfall on the data. And the advantage of this ether graph, which is the easy to draw like other than draw the climograph, and also it is require data temperature and rainfall on the data. And it is also graph start from a 0 point origin, which means therefore no extra precautions to be taken into. And then disadvantage of this ether graph, which means that each point in the graph represent a month, so we can to more data on a single point, it may cause error. So here is a graph of a ether graph, and it is a good graph for the rainfall and temperature to collect the data. And the last one is the argograph means it is derived from two Greek word, means argon which means work, and graphic means draw. So the literal ergograph, which means that graph which show nature type of work done and to other individual in this particular time. And this graph is show with the wheel diagram. And the advantage of this ergograph, which is that the graph provides subsurface of the information and the seasonal activities based on the time management, and they remain useful in geography. And also the last one is that disadvantage of this which graph which can be used to analyze everyday time geography or geographical of the individual or showing groups of office organization. So here is our second unit of thematic cartography. It is done and it is submitted to Mr. Hashibur sir, which is given us to make a video on that on this topic. So thank you very much for thank you for the watching video. Thank you so much.